o'clock. Let's start the Crystal Council meeting at this time. Let's start with roll call.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Banks.
Here.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Here.
Councilmember Deschler.
Here.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Here.
And Councilmember Parsons is absent. We have a quorum.
All right. At this time, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the
flag
The flag
of the
the
United States of America
of America,
and to the republic
to the republic
which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty and
liberty
justice for all.
justice for all.
For all.
All right, thank you. That's always a
That
challenge.
was awesome.
That's always a challenge, but it is awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have an agenda before us. I'm looking for a motion on that agenda. If you could
I'll make a
indicate
motion.
with a hand, that would be great. Let's start Brendan Banks.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, Nancy.
I'll second that.
All right. Let's vote by roll call.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Banks.
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. First item on our agenda is the appearance of Lyndon Carlson. We saw him already, but that was before the meeting started, so we're going to do it again, but not the same. First, I'd like to read into the record a proclamation commending Representative Carlson. So I'll do that at this time. Then we'll have an opportunity to have some conversation afterwards. And this is a proclamation commending Representative Lyndon Carlson Sr., whereas Representative Lyndon Carlson Sr. has served in the Minnesota House of Representatives, representing district including the city of Crystal since 1972. That's 48 years. Whereas Representative Carlson is the longest serving Minnesota legislator and the longest serving member of the Minnesota House. And whereas Representative Carlson is a resident of Crystal, and whereas during his tenure in the Minnesota House, Representative Carlson has consistently supported the city of Crystal's legislative initiatives, including but not only authorizing to create special housing districts, championing the city's need for continued local government aid to provide municipal services, funding to resolve flooding issues along Medicine Lake Road associated with the Decoal Ponds, and leading a bipartisan and multi-city effort to block the city connection proposed by the railroad. And whereas most recently Representative Carlson was instrumental in the inclusion of the Crystal Police Station project in the 2020 bonding bill. And whereas earlier this year, Representative Carlson announced his retirement from the Minnesota House of Representatives at the end of his current term. Now therefore, I, Jim Adams, as the mayor of the city of Crystal, do hereby sincerely thank Representative Carlson for his 48 years of service and his long-standing support for Crystal's efforts, and sincerely wish Representative Carlson a long and healthy retirement dated this first day of December 2020. So congratulations, Representative Carlson. It's you know, normally at this time we'd clap, but it seems strange to clap on this on this forum. But just know that I appreciate the time that you've spent with me throughout the years, and you know, you put in that amount of time committed to a community. It's just, that's a lifetime that you've spent supporting the public, being a public service, and to let this moment go by without actually taking some time and recognizing that, I think we would be missing an opportunity. So I personally want to thank you for your long service to our community and all the citizens in the community. So thank you. Now, at this point in time, I know we had some conversation before, but is there anything that you would like to say as you know, as a parting comments?
You know, there are a few comments that I would like to make, and I know you have the council agenda before you, so I won't take too long. But with this meeting coming up tonight, I did a bit of reminiscing. And the very first meeting I attended as a candidate for the legislature was in the Crystal City Hall, 1972. The very first meeting that I attended as a legislator in 1973, Crystal City Hall. So that goes back quite a long way. But what I would like to point out is that over the years, I've represented all or parts of 6 suburbs with redistricting. You know, those suburban areas kept going back and forth. In fact, I moved twice to continue to run in my district or parts of it. But, you know, I represented Crystal, Brooklyn Center, New Hope, Golden Valley, Robbinsdale, and Plymouth at various times. The one constant in all of those years was I always had a significant part of the city of Crystal. Most of the time it was part of Northern Crystal, but then with redistricting, sometimes Southern Crystal. I think probably through the years I've represented all of the city of Crystal at one time or other, but maybe not all at once. But one thing I would like to point out, as a resident of Crystal, if I had any questions and I would contact City Hall, always just great support or getting information from city staff. They were always great to work with. If I called the city on behalf of a constituent to get information, the response from city staff, council members, mayors through the years has always been very good. I just want to compliment you in that regard, the incumbent city council, as well as the people that are currently working for the city. They were always very quick to get back to me if I had some information I needed for a constituent, and that was much appreciated. One bit of advice that I would make as a departure, one thing that I found very helpful was those regional meetings that we had on Saturday mornings, hosted by the city of Crystal. And you would invite the other cities in the area, and then we would go over what the legislative interests were of the various cities. And I always found that very helpful. And that's something that's been done in recent years with very good attendance. And so my parting suggestion would be to continue those, because I think the other legislators would probably say the same thing, that that's been very helpful in knowing what the cities are thinking. And by the way, kind of interesting, not every issue did you see that all the cities were necessarily on the same page. But that information, like I say, was helpful. And I really appreciated the opportunity to serve. And I've always felt that one of the roles that you have as a legislator is to be an advocate for the cities that you represent. And that I thought was an important part of my years of service in the legislature. So with that, I'll stop, and if you wanted to take or ask questions, that would be fine. Oh, by the way, we had some good news. You know, as chair of the Ways and Means Committee, you've probably heard about the announcement now, but last May, we were headed for over a $2 billion shortfall for the remainder of this biennium as a result primarily of the pandemic. We had started the legislative session in January with a surplus, and all of a sudden that melted away and we were headed toward a major deficit. Well, revenue has come in better than expected and is projected to continue. So instead of deficit. We'll finish the year at with about a $600 and some odd dollar surplus. Although there's interest in legislation this month to help the small business community, so that probably will reduce that 600 and some million by some of the numbers that they're talking about by several hundred million. But we would still leave with a positive balance at the end of the biennium. That should be good news for the cities as well, because it's hard to say with that kind of a deficit what might have happened with aids to cities and counties and school districts and what have you. So we have a plus. There is a negative projected for the next biennium, however. If we work our way out of the pandemic a little bit sooner than expected, perhaps that deficit will take care of itself as well. So I'll stop. I didn't mean to get into that, except that it was very good news today. And
Right.
I thought, hey, the person coming in, my replacement in January, would have had a full plate trying to wrestle with a deficit of over $2 billion and to resolve it in about 6 months.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments from other council members before we let him go? Go ahead, John.
I just want to thank you again for your years of service, and then also for the great advice you've had on, being an elected official, especially in the city of Crystal, and truly, the way that you've managed the budget for the city of Minnesota, or for the state of Minnesota City, for the state of Minnesota. I mean, a lot of states don't have the type of fiduciary responsibility that a lot of legislatures have that we have here in Minnesota. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate your what you've done.
Thank you.
Therese?
I'd also like to say thank you, Representative Carlson, and congratulations on a career well done. And thanks for being our advocate in this part of the metro.
Well, thank you.
All right, Nancy. You're muted.
I thought I was making background noise, but it wasn't me. Just wanted to thank you also for your years of service. It was really nice to get to know you over the years and share Hubert Humphrey's stories. And I really do wish you the best. And I hope to see you more often coming to city council meetings, or just staying in touch with us and giving us your feedback and ideas.
Well, thank you.
All right, hey, Julie, go ahead. Muted.
Sorry about that. No, I wanted to thank you too, and say one of my memories of you and Ann was the first time I was running for office, and it was cold, and windy out. And I remember so clearly we were on the same block, and we were kind of chasing our signs, trying to stand them back upright. I just remember thinking, boy, this is not all that much fun being out here on the campaign trail. And I remember how cold you and Ann looked when you were out there too. So.
It was up by the airport, if I recall.
Yes, it was. It was sure was.
It was Regent Avenue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you for your years of service.
I've walked those streets so many times, I kind of have
an idea where, yeah. Anyway, thank you and best of luck in your retirement.
Well, thank you. There's one person I neglected to mention when I was thanking people, and that's my wife, Carol. She's also a resident of the city of Crystal, but I don't think I would have been 48 years in the legislature without her support and work as well. So for those people that are listening, I want to acknowledge her role and everything I was involved in through the years.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much. All right. We are going to move on with the next part of our agenda, and it's not a whole lot different. It's another recognition of a man's service for quite a few number of years, and I'd like to start very similarly by first reading the proclamation and then having some conversation. And Mike is here. So
Yep. He's having problems with this camera. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Oh, I got it.
there you are. All right, welcome. I'm going to start with the proclamation. Proclamation of appreciation. Hennepin County Commissioner Mike Opat. Whereas Hennepin County Commissioner Mike Opat has served on the Hennepin County Board representing District 1, which includes the city of Crystal, since 1993. And whereas during his tenure on the county board, Commissioner Opat has supported many public works and park improvement efforts by the city of Crystal. And whereas Commissioner Opat assisted the city in securing grants for park improvements at many Crystal parks, including Bassett Creek Park, Becker Park, Forest Soccer Field, the Little League Field, and Fair School. And whereas Commissioner Opat assisted the city in securing grants for undergrounding electric lines in the Bass Lake Road downtown area. And whereas Commissioner Opat was instrumental with a bipartisan and multi-city effort to block the city connection or the Crystal connection proposed by the railroad. And whereas Commissioner Opat has been a long-standing champion of the Blue Line Extension Light Rail serving northwest cities, including the city of Crystal. And whereas earlier this year, Commissioner Opat announced his retirement from the Hennepin County Board as of November 8th, 2020. Now, therefore, I, Jim Adams, as the mayor of the city of Crystal, do hereby sincerely thank Commissioner Opat for his 27 years of service and his longstanding support for Crystal's efforts, and sincerely wish Commissioner Opat well and good luck in his next venture, dated this first day of December 2020. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
Again, this is another considerable part of your life that you have committed to public service, not just as commissioner, but even before that. And I can't help but when someone offers that much of their life to public service, to just personally point that out and say thank you in your continued efforts to be a public servant. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Do you want to hear from me now, or do you want
Absolutely.
to go around
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. Well, here, the lighting's a little weird here. I am actually in lovely Mauston, Wisconsin. I just dropped my son Luke back off in Madison for a virtual sophomore year at Wisconsin. So this is the wonders of technology. It's the lighting's not so great, but the reception's otherwise fantastic. So first off, I just wanted to thank and congratulate Lynn on his 48 years. It's not too many of these kinds of gatherings where 28 years is so far so far fewer than someone else. But Lynn's one of a kind that way, and he certainly earned everybody's recognition. He's losing his edge though a little bit, because he should be claiming a full responsibility for the surplus and leaving the deficit to for those to pick up when he's not there anymore. So maybe he's not ready to quite leave office just yet, I guess. It's been a pleasure to work for Crystal. I've appreciated the things we've done together. I think the one that it stands out that's not on that list a little bit earlier is Highway 100. I mean, none of us could have done that alone. I was fortunate enough to gather the cities together, and Crystal was a huge part of that, Crystal and Robbinsdale. And out of that, remember that the Nichols were even happy to leave back then. It's been so long ago, but that made way for the Cub and a redevelopment there, and just a much safer, better edge to Crystal and Robbinsdale than was there before. And that one of course was a very big project that it took the locals to get the attention of MnDOT, quite frankly, and even our legislators. It was that big, and we did it together, and that's been wonderful. I've appreciated the relationship with the council and with your department heads. All the police chiefs have been fantastic to work with. We get the JCPP going now in Crystal, and I saw today that I'll take a little credit for the social workers too. That was something we've been working on for a long time. But those efforts only work if people are willing to say yes to it, and Crystal has been. And in particular, I just want to single out Ann Norris as a fantastic city manager, and I've worked with plenty of them. I've represented parts of 8 cities over my time. It's always been at least half at Crystal And if you go over time, I don't know how many, 20 probably odd city managers, and she's right at the top of the list. So thank you, Ann, for all you've done to make our work together go well. So thanks again for the recognition. I truly appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you. So other council members, any comments? John, go ahead.
So you officially have moved on from being, a commissioner, and you're now working for Health Partners. Is that correct?
No, I'm working for North Memorial, so I'm
Oh,
in the
North
neighborhood.
Memorial. Thank you. Yeah, North Memorial. But
No Health Partners, no.
curious, because
We're working on that North Memorial profile. That's like the job one, so I got to make sure and make that correct.
so how do I work the app? So, oh well, no. But I want to.
Oh, go ahead, John. Were you finished?
I pretty much just thank you for everything you've done. I mean, it's been a pleasure working with you. So it's been a lot of fun, and good luck to you in your ventures. And if you ever need my help, please let me know.
Yep. Likewise. Thank you.
Therese, go ahead.
I wanted to say thanks to Commissioner Opat. You've been a real advocate for this part of the metro, and congratulations on your new adventure. You're way too young to retire, so I'm glad you're not retiring yet. But thanks for your service.
Thank you.
All right, Nancy.
Hey, Commissioner or former Commissioner Opat, I really appreciate meeting you when I first got elected 4 years ago. You were gracious enough to meet me for coffee and get to know and understand each other and help each other out with some of the projects around the metro. I really appreciate it. And also thank you for the congratulatory letters that you sent me after this year's election. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Julie.
No, I wanted to thank him too, and he's going to be sorely missed because I always thought he was one of the more sensible commissioners on Hennepin County. Still think he probably was, and I just think you did a great job, and you're going to be sorely missed. But enjoy your new life.
Well, right back at you, council member. It's been a pleasure to work with you, truly.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
Thank
you have
you so
work to
much.
do.
We do have work to do. I appreciate you
get on
taking.
up.
I appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. So it's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you. Good luck with the rest of the agenda, and happy holidays to everybody. Hang in there, where COVID will be over soon.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Good night. All right.
And he's in Mauston, Jim, not Mauston.
Yeah, I caught that.
You can tell we're from Wisconsin.
Yep. That's, this is a night we just don't have very often. That's something else to see careers like that to come to an end, or starting new careers as well. I'm going to move on with the council agenda. Let's see, we got consent agenda next, I believe. Yes, that is true. I will read that into the record at this time. First item is the approval of minutes from the following meetings: the council work session from November 12th, special meeting from November 13th, work session on November 17th, and a council meeting from that same date. Also, the approval of the license applications submitted by the city clerk to the city council. That list is on file in the office of the city clerk. Approval of a resolution accepting the following donations: $5,000 from VFW Post 494 for the American Sign Language Assistance for Recreation Programs, and $3,000 from VFW Post for Winterfest and Recreation Scholarship Fund. Thank you, VFW. That's $8,000 from the VFW. That's amazing. Approval of a resolution making annual insurance elections, amending the development agreement for 5238 and 5244 Scott Avenue North to extend the completion deadline for the new home construction. And I think was that it?
Nope, there's one more, an extension for the conditional.
Oh, there it
use
is.
permit. Yep.
CUP.
Flip it over. I got it. Approval of the 1-year extension for the conditional use permit for Verizon to build telecommunication tower for, well, that's at 3200 Barrett Cruise North. That is our consent agenda. Looking for a motion on that. Julie?
I didn't want to make a motion quite yet, but I do have a question. Hey, Ann,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure somebody's talk to the VFW about the Winterfest, because I know last I was there, the auxiliary was really looking forward to participating in that.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that the right hand's talking on the left hand, that it was kind of canceled or scaled down or something.
Yes, I talked to Gene Burdick at the VFW and let him know that Winterfest was canceled and asked if he wanted the money back or he wanted it to go towards any costs for Winterfest, virtual Winterfest, and if he wanted the balance to go to the recreational scholarship program.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
That was it.
All right. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda. Go ahead, Brendan.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right. I think Julie, you got the second.
Yep, Julie, I'll second it.
All right. Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. So next we have open forum. Is there anyone here wishing to speak during open forum? Do we have anyone here wishing to speak during open forum? Kent?
Yes.
Hi, Kent. Welcome.
Hello. So I'm relatively new to City of Crystal, but I did notice I saw the council approved a new police building project, and I'm just here to educate myself about what efforts are being made to look at what resources the city is going to meet with police versus what services the city will meet through non-police efforts. So we looked at getting community service officers that are not police officers, as opposed to just building up the police presence.
Okay. So I'm not sure what your question is. Could you try that, narrow that down?
Well, it's a big question because I just know that there's an effort to build a new police building. I've done some research talking to the police department. There is the community outreach officers who do things that do not require a commissioned police officer. I'm aware of that, but at the same time, they are reporting to the chief of police, and they are people who are hopefully, they're going to school, they want to become police officers. With everything, with the defund the police movement on one side and everything, I just want to know what efforts our city's made to look at the use of police in our community, and whether there are some things that are better served through a agency that does not report through the chief of the police through that department.
Okay.
Mayor, do you want me to try to answer and then turn it over to Deputy Chief Hubbard?
Yeah, I think so. Before we do that, just real quickly, there's a whole bunch of things that you mentioned there in terms of a building, and then commissioned officers and then not commissioned officers. So real quickly, in terms of the building, I'll respond to that. The building piece of it is something that for the last 8 years, probably going on more like 12 years, we've been aware of some deficiencies in some of our operations within the police department. And it's been something that we were hoping to accomplish in the next 20 years is kind of the timeline when we first talked about that. And we're accomplishing this roughly 10 years from that standpoint. So fiscally, we're able to come ahead of schedule in terms of what we thought we'd have to wait another 10 years for. So in that respect, we're going to find a department that's becoming a lot more functional in almost all aspects of its job. And with that, I'll pass the question off to Ann North so she can make a couple comments.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I think I understand the nature of your question. I think it's important to know that our police department already has a lot of current partnerships with other non-law enforcement agencies. We have a multicultural advisory committee. We have a partnership, as Commissioner Opat was talking about, the JCPP to help with the community. We have an embedded domestic violence advocate within the department from Cornerstone. No, that's not happening right now because of COVID. And the council will be considering an embedded social worker within the police department shared with New Hope and Robbinsdale to try to address some of the issues I think the underlying issues you're referring to. But Deputy Chief Hubbard, who is in the meeting, can give a much better answer than I can.
Chief Hubbard?
No, I think the city manager said it very well. My opinion, obviously it's a somewhat biased opinion, but my opinion would be that I believe as a relatively new member of the team here that Crystal is at the front end of trying to reimagine, if you will, what traditional law enforcement looks like. And I think Chief Revering has really been at the front of the line of saying, hey, if we need to do it, then let's do it. If we don't need to be involved in it, then let's not. And I think there are lots of calls that officers respond to that officers would be at the front of the line to say, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this. But officers respond to 911 calls, and we can't really control what people call 911 for. I'm not sure, Kent, if you have been following, but we've had a number of, this has been happening for a while, but certainly in the last year, we see it at the opportunity for us to continue to have hard dialogue and to do the hard look at what we offer, how we offer it, how we do our work. So there are a number of efforts that certainly you and I can connect on to get you involved in so that you understand some of those discussions. We've got I would say we've got two pretty intense groups that have been meeting pretty continually over the last year to really try and unpack that and try and figure out how do we want to do things different? Are there things that we should be looking at? I certainly know that I think I speak for all of the staff, but certainly the chief and I in saying nothing's off the table. I hope you will find some leaders here that will not close off to any idea. We're open to any dialogue because we want to provide the best service to this community that we can. So, without talking in circles, I would say your question is a question that we have had even before the current climate is out there, and one that we continue to very seriously try to address and how we do that. And again, I'm happy to, and the chief I know is also happy to offline have some further conversations to give more specifics than this kind of broad brush statement.
So, I think, I'm not sure if we answered all of your questions, and I'm guessing there's a little bit more detail. So I encourage you to have conversations offline with our leadership in the police department. We can't answer all the questions fully in this environment. We're going to need to go back to business, but keep in mind, you're welcome to have those conversations. We encourage you to have those conversations. And thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. Yes, it wasn't a well-formed question. I'm just trying to get educated. Thank you.
That's great. And sometimes when we have these questions come up in open forum, generally speaking, we don't necessarily answer them well. Number one, because A, we're not prepared, but actually B, it is our job and we do have a general idea. But the big thing is, if you're asking the question, you're not the only one. So if we can answer it to the best we can on the fly, we do. And if you got specific details, yes, please get in contact with us. So thank you. All right. Was there anyone else wishing to speak during open forum? All right. Seeing nobody, we will close open forum and move on to public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive comment and council consideration for a resolution approving the 2021 budget, the budget in 2021 property tax, housing, and redevelopment authority levies. We have our financial director with us today. Her name is Jean McGann, and she's planning on addressing the council. So welcome, Jean.
Good evening and thank you. I believe that Matt is going to put the presentation up for us here. Thank you. So we are going to be talking about the 2021 city budget and property tax levy. And so right now, December 1st, we're looking at the final approval. Now, as you recall, I know all of you have heard this presentation many times throughout this throughout 2020. And so in September, there was a preliminary property tax levy and budget that was passed by the city council. And at that point, of course, you could not increase property taxes anymore after that preliminary certification. However, there was an opportunity to reduce that. So today, December 1st, we'll review the final property tax levy and the budget, and we'll also be asking for acceptance of the 2022 budget. And then after the council meeting this evening, we'll submit all of the required reports to the county and the state, provided that the city council chooses to move forward with the adoption. So as we go through the goals of the 21-22 budget, this is the second time we've went through a 2-year budget process, as well as a financial planning cycle. That included looking at a 5-year strategic plan. There was a utility rate analysis done in 2018, which impacts, of course, your enterprise funds and all the utility rates. For the 21-22 budget, the intent is to maintain the existing service levels with minimal impact to the residents, and also really trying to implement the council's core priorities. Also continuing to fund the capital needs so that debt won't be needed for any of our fleet equipment purchases, building, and also to keep our enterprise funds, our utility funds solvent, and continuing on the trend from the 2018 rate analysis. Now, as we go through the 2021 budget and levy, of course, with the pandemic, there are some unknown, factors with this. Is we're uncertain as to how long the pandemic will last and what the overall impact will be on revenues. In addition to that, we do have 3 union contracts, and all of these union contracts are open for 2021 at this point. The council's goals, we're going to go through the 4 council goals. The first would be a thriving business climate. Under each part of these goals, we've listed different initiatives. Not all initiatives have been listed. However, we have picked up on some of the major focuses. However, there's other initiatives that are ongoing as well. The second is for strong neighborhoods. Now, as many people that are listening recall, there was a Parks Master Plan that was developed, and progress continues on with that plan. And so we move on to the next goal of sound financial policies. I had mentioned this is the second time the city has went through a 2-year budget process. In addition to that, a long-term plan is reviewed each year for any modifications that may need to happen. And for instance, the police department is actually, there are not any loans being taken externally, such as bonding or anything like that. That police department will be built with existing funds. The third council goal is to have a welcoming and inclusive community. And there are multiple efforts that go along with making this reality. So as we look at the overall property tax levy summary, For 2021, we are proposing a 6.23% increase in the overall property tax levy. And as we move on to the next slide, we'll see how that levy increase is actually broke down. For operations, of that 6.23%, 4.81% goes towards general operations, maintaining your current services. There is 1.29% of the levy that is increased levy that will go to capital. And then a small component is directed towards EDA of 0.13% or $17,000 increase there. Now, you may wonder, okay, now why do we have a 6.23% increase? We've identified the areas as to what it's been directed towards. However, one thing to remember is that due to the pandemic, there has been lost revenue of about $306,000. We have anticipated about 2.5% for wages and benefit increases. We have a modest increase of $17,000 for inflation. We have some additions to the police department. Now, this is directed towards mental health in the amount of about $35,000. And then we also have dollars allocated in there for the overtime required to have a canine, additional canine dog. West Metro Fire, we have an additional allocation of about $58,000 there. And in 2021, we do not have any elections. And so we have a decrease in the budget of $112,000 when compared to 2020. Capital increases, if you notice, we had the 1.29% increase in the overall levy directed towards capital. So you're seeing that increase of $173,000. And I spoke about EDA with an increase of $17,000. If we look at the overall general fund summary, for benefit of the council, I did provide the 2020 amended budget number in here for comparison purposes as we're looking at the overall revenue budget. And as we go through this, you'll note that there has not been a lot of significant changes going on. We have the increase in the property tax revenue. We have a slight increase in licenses and permits of $40,000. Intergovernmental revenues have been maintained in the general fund. Charges for services, we're anticipating a decrease, as well as a decrease in your fines and forfeits. If we could move on to the next slide, please. And then if you look at your overall expenditures for your general fund, here again, there is not significant changes in any one of the categories for your departments. We think it's important to show the EDA budget. At a meeting earlier this evening, the EDA budget was approved by the EDA. And so we're just showing that we have a property tax levy of $300,000 going towards EDA. And then we have some various expenditures coming out of the EDA budget as well. And so if we look at the overall cash balance, it is maintaining relatively consistently from year to year. To explain a bit more on where the increases are, if you take a look at anything that is a non-property tax revenue increase. As I went through some of the high-level summaries, I did a little bit of a touch point on those areas. However, I will dig a little deeper just to show so the people that are viewing can really understand how this budget was put together. So if you look at the overall revenue, we are seeing decreases in special assessments of $18,500. We've seen a decline in delinquencies for property taxes and interest. Charges for services, I had mentioned that previously. We have about a $47,000 decrease there. A decrease in licenses and permits of $67,000. A decrease in some intergovernmental revenue in the form of grants of $4,600. The school resource officer is a decrease of 33,000. Now that's really relative to the overall school district's budget and the fact that schools are, primarily remote at this point. Fines and forfeits, we're looking at trend lines for that, and that we're seeing a decrease of 32,000. And then as we go down the line, the other areas are relatively minor. Until we get over to the expenditure increases and decreases. Like I mentioned, we have an increase in wages and benefits, which is about 2.5% of the overall property tax increase. I mentioned the police canine. We do have an increase. The county does the assessing contract, and so we do have an increase there. A small increase for professional services for finance. As I mentioned before, elections is seeing a decrease, and then we have some other miscellaneous reductions of about 21,000. As the city council and city management team has went through the budget, they have been trying to be very conservative in looking at all areas in which we can reduce costs as we were trying to minimize the overall impact to the community. Now, with the 6.23% increase, we did pull some information based on the information that the county has. And in looking at the average Crystal home, if you see the red information at the bottom of the slide, at 6.23% increase, the average home will see about a tax increase for the city's portion of about $55. And so what people have to remember is that there's also the school district tax as well as the county tax as well. We are only focusing on the city's portion of your overall property tax statement this evening. So there's always some property tax relief programs that are available. And so the Minnesota Department of Revenue, the phone number and website address is indicated on this slide. But there are 4 different types of refunds or credits that people can apply for. The homestead credit refund, the renter's refund, there's a special property tax refund, and then there's also a senior citizen tax deferral program. So if you would like more information on any of these programs, I encourage you to contact the Department of Revenue. And at this point, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Thank you, Jean. Are there any questions from council members? John, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw that you had a line item for wages and benefits that you discussed. Is that like a placeholder for our current negotiations, or is that something that we've actually come to an agreement on? Can we talk about that?
At this point, none of the union contracts have been settled. Needed to put together a overall budget, and so we are forecasting what we feel that the city can afford. And as union negotiations continue, we'll have to take a hard look at the numbers. For non-union, we have everything projected within the wages and benefits itself.
Okay.
Ann, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, Councilmember Budashevsky, I think it's safe to say that's an allowance for any wage adjustments and insurance adjustments. So
Okay, all right.
when you look at it, don't assume it's a 2.5% increase to everyone's salary or wage adjustment, because that's not true.
Okay, that's good. I was just kind of curious as to how that number was derived. So that's why I asked. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Jean. At this point, I'd like to open the public hearing. Just a review of the purpose of the public hearing is to receive comment on the 2021 budget and property tax and housing and the EDA levies. So anyone here wishing to speak at this public hearing? Looking for anyone wishing to speak during the public hearing. All right. I'm not seeing anyone wishing to speak at this public hearing, so I will close the public hearing. And looking for a motion from the council. Anyone? Brendan, brave Brendan.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 budget and the 2021 property tax and housing redevelopment authority levies. Did I catch that right?
I think so. 21 in the tax levy for 2021.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Looking for a second on that, John?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Let's do roll call vote.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. What is it? 10 to 8, and we're finally to the regular agenda. That's great. First item is the disbursements of $25,000 or greater. I'll read those into the record. Sorry, Julie, I have a much shorter list than what you had. With that, I just wanted to thank you for stepping in my absence. You did a stellar job from what I hear. And,
We moved it along.
You moved it along. Does that mean I'm supposed to take lessons from that? Stop blabbing and read them into the record. There we go. First item is West Metro Fire Rescue District. That's for the Crystal share of the West Metro additional COVID costs of $95,879. Then we have Center for Energy and Environment for Home Improvement Loans. That is $56,080. And Northdale Construction Company for the 2020 utility reconstruction for $145,937. And MinPara for the employee city required contribution for pay date November 13th, 2020. And that is $60,968. Total disbursements of $25,000 or greater is $358,865.61. First, Julie, go ahead.
I'll move approval of the expenses as read, $25,000 or greater.
All right, looking for a second.
I will second.
Thanks, Therese. Are there any questions related to any of these items? Any questions related to any of these items? Seeing none, I have a motion on the floor. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche,
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Second item is the consideration accepting the long-term financial plan for 2021. And our financial director is here to address us on that again, Jean McGann.
Hello again. Before we get into the long-term plan, the one thing I did not mention about the budget is that the 21-22 actual budget document has been completed. And so you should have all of that information in front of you this evening as well. And I think this is important to note because there's many times when this document isn't produced until almost the end of the year. And so I think it's good to have all of it in front of you at one time. In regard to the long-term plan, this has been a process that we have been working on the entire year. There's been, many modifications, many, work sessions to discuss what's contained within the long-term plan. And lastly, when the city was fortunate enough to receive the $4 million through the bonding bill, the additional modification to include that. The long-term plan covers all of the funds within the city, including all of your enterprise funds, as well as all of your capital funds and internal service funds. And at this time, the council is just asked to accept the report, recognizing the fact that this is a living, moving, document that as times change, there will need to be modifications made. And so we do review this on an annual basis.
And sometimes even more.
Yes.
All right. Any questions for Jean on this item? Looking for a motion? Nancy?
I will make a motion to accept the long-term financial plan for 2021 to 2031.
All right, thank you. Brendan?
I'll second.
All right, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Budashevsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche,
Aye.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you again. So third item is the approval of the 2021 fee schedule, including the 2021 utility rates. Ann Norris is going to speak with us on this. Welcome, Ann.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's that exciting time of year again, the 2021 fee schedule. The fees that are in the fee schedule were incorporated in the revenues in the 2021 budget you just approved. There are not a lot of changes in it. We intend to do a deeper dive in the 23-24 budget process. That was originally intended for this year, but that got sidestepped by pandemic issues. So it does incorporate the utility rates from the 2018 rate study as well. So recommend approval of the fee schedule.
All right, thank you, Ann. Any questions for Ann in relationship to this fee schedule? Seeing none, looking for a motion on this. Go ahead, Nancy.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the 2021 fee schedule, including the 2021 utility rates.
All right, thank you. Julie, did I see your hand?
I will second that.
All right, thank you, Julie. Let's do a roll call vote on this one.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche,
Aye.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item 4 is a contract with Hennepin County for the embedded mental health social worker in the police department. I assume Deputy Chief Hubbard is going to handle this?
Correct.
All right, welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Good evening. The chief sends her regards. She was not able to be with us tonight, which is unfortunate in so much as the item before you is something that has been in her pipe dream list for quite a while. So she should really be the one here presenting to you. In your packets, you'll see a contract for a partnership with the cities of New Hope and Robbinsdale, along with Hennepin County, for an embedded social worker, as was previously alluded in the question during open forum. We see this as a really important step forward as we continue to try and figure out how we best serve the residents of our community. The idea here is that we have, for a number of years, seen a continual increase in our mental health and crisis calls throughout the city that officers are responding to. And very, very often those calls are repeat calls that we're dealing with folks numerous times. The problem for officers and our resources is we're called to deal with the acute issue that's in front of us that precipitated the 911 call, but it doesn't really give us, we don't have the option, nor do we have the knowledge base really to work with them when the person is not in crisis to deal with what is really the underlying issue that, or issues that they are facing. And so the idea behind this position would be that we have a licensed social worker who is resourced through the county and connected with the county, that as we generate calls for service with different individuals in the 3 cities, can come back after the fact and connect with those individuals, figure out what's going on with them, what services do they have, what things do they need, so that the hope would be, one, really, frankly, that we get them the help that they really need, which isn't just us showing up because there's a disturbance going on. But as importantly then for us, that we would hope that we would reduce the number of contacts that we have with them. So this, I think this is a very exciting opportunity and resource for us. One thing I would point out, just so everybody understands, because this whole idea of embedded social worker is something that we hear as a buzzword right now in these police reform efforts. I would just want the council to understand that the way this is set up, this person is not going to be riding along with officers responding to crisis calls. It's one person in 3 cities. That simply is not how that's going to work. That's not to say that they wouldn't, if they're around, respond to a call if they are available, but that's not really the model. The model is that they are coming in after the fact to try and help resource things moving forward. And so my understanding is that New Hope and Robbinsdale have both approved this contract. The county has approved the contract. We are splitting the cost between the 4 entities, which is part of what you approved in the budget increase tonight. And so our request is for approval of executing this contract. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Brian. Questions for Brian? Nancy.
Yes, Deputy Chief Hubbard, I was just wondering how many other metro cities have adopted this,
So,
if any?
So Councilmember Walsh, Hennepin County started this program, I believe, in 2017 in a partnership with Plymouth and Minnetonka. Since then, I believe that there are probably, I'm going to say 8 other cities that either individually or collectively with shared arrangements like this have an embedded social worker in place. So it's a relatively new model, but I would say, yeah, there's a handful of them, but we're certainly, if you look at all the cities in the county, we're still at the front end of putting this in place.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm very excited about this program.
All right, Julie.
I was watching the news yesterday on KSTP, and it said that we had already approved it. It was a foregone conclusion. We were going to do this, and I started laughing. I thought, did I miss a meeting or what?
There was a press release that went out by one of the cities, I can't remember which one, that kind of suggested that all was a done deal, and I saw that and went, well,
I know
the way the process works, but we can't control all the messages.
Yeah, that's not a serious one. That's not, we've had worse. All right, any other questions? Go ahead, Therese.
Thank you. So how this will work is the social worker will follow up after the crisis has been dealt with at that point? How soon afterwards? Or is there a model that Crystal is following, or?
Well, so we are working out the details right now of, the 3 cities have to come to some agreements on, what, I mean, we certainly, every time we have what I would call a crisis call, they're not going to get referred to this individual. It's one person working in 3 cities that they simply won't have the bandwidth initially to do that. And so we're all going to have to come to some agreement on what threshold, if you will, would precipitate some of that follow-up. But I would say the county is in the process right now of trying to determine how they're going to fill this position. And partly I say we're going to leave some of that decision to the expert who knows how best that should happen. But certainly what we know is not unlike, I mean, the model somewhat is similar to our model with the Cornerstone partnership. Certainly we know the sooner after the crisis we can get in touch with this person, the better off we're going to be in getting them to be open to services. So I think it would be premature to say, there's a 24-hour time frame. I don't know what that time frame is. I think we still have to work that out, but certainly our goal would be if they meet the criteria for that follow-up, we want that to happen sooner than later. Part of what may evolve in this is, depending on what it is, some of that follow-up certainly might happen by a couple of our officers. It's possible that, we have a couple of trained officers who, when we have, I guess I would call a lower level crisis situation, may do some follow-up with that individual to help get them some resources as they come up. So it's not a great answer to your question because I don't think we've completely fleshed it out yet, but certainly sooner the better is what we know to be the case.
Okay. One more question. Is this person going to be employed by Hennepin County or, right? And so,
Yes, so they are employed and supervised by the county, but housed basically at the 3 agencies. And so we will, part of what we agree to is that we have office space for them. We'll have an interface with them so that we've got FaceTime and can connect and talk about individuals as we need to. But they are county employees, which I would argue, frankly, is way better than them being a city employee, because now they get to tap into the broader network of social work within Hennepin County.
it was actually my next question, that they'll have support through the county and resources if the case need be. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions for the deputy chief? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Julie?
I will make a motion to approve a contract with Hennepin County for embedded mental health social worker for the police department.
All right, thank you. Brendan?
I will second that.
All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Member Kaiser,
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche,
Aye.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item is the Public Works. Well, no, he's not the item. Excuse me. Our Public Works Director, Mark Ray, is here to address the council, and that is in reference to a pickup truck.
Good evening, council members. My wife would definitely agree I am not an item. Moving forward, so on the budget you just approved was replacement of a pickup truck. We have found out the lead time for these pickup trucks is about 6 months, and so that's why we're here this evening. The project, or the truck you purchased, comes off the state contract like most of our other trucks. There are some attachments that will be put on as well, bringing the total purchase cost to $49,217.19. There was $75,000 allocated for this. It will be a 1-for-1 replacement, where the existing one will be sold at auction. It's the truck you see right there. Next slide. One of the kind of things I want to just talk about this sequence here. So the truck we're purchasing is going to fill the role that you can see in truck 301 right there. Truck 301 will then take the spot of truck 44, and truck 44 will take the spot of truck 40. And so that's kind of the progression as we try to extend the life of our vehicles and really maximize them. This is a great example of how that's done operationally. So you can see truck 40, 22 years old. It's only used in the summer, where truck 44, it's heavy summer use, especially in seasonals, but lighter in the winter. And so we're really trying, as these trucks get older, to extend their life on the back end as much as feasible. So I just thought this is kind of a great example of how we not only balance our vehicle condition index, but operationally we move vehicles through different roles in service to try to extend them as long as possible. Next slide. So the item before you is the motion to approve the resolution authorizing the replacement of the pickup truck. With that, are there any questions?
Questions from Mark? Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, more of a comment. Mark, I'm just really impressed with how well you've taken care of the fleet for a 22-year-old truck to last that long and look that good. And this is a little guy that I have next on my desk here. You see him? This is not how we treat our trucks, right? We treat them well. And I just wanted to thank you, and I fully support this.
I actually got to give the credit to the staff on that one for the vehicle maintenance on that.
All right, Julie, go ahead. You're muted.
Yes, no, I'm just kidding.
You know, how come they're all different colors all the time?
Yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that.
All right.
We're trying to we're trying to go with all white.
White? Oh, okay.
White is the color we're trying to go with. We hide in the snow better. But with regards to that truck, yeah, so it was painted purple because to extend the life, they did have it painted, and purple was the cheapest color, is my understanding. I will note, like my first week on the job, I drove that truck and it died on me. And I had to have somebody come pick me up and drive me back to figure out what the problem was with that truck. So anyway, little sidebar on that one.
Good riddance.
But yeah, we're trying to go with white trucks, not only for pickup trucks, but also for larger dump trucks. So you'll notice we had one painted, and then the purchases have been white trucks.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right. Did I see any other questions? Brendan.
I was going to essentially make the same comment that Nancy made. I think it just kind of goes to the mentality of not just purchasing just because we need to, purchase a vehicle, but that we're doing the best we can to extend the life and then just make, I think it's just using the tax, dollars to the best of our ability and not just purchasing something because, we can, or we budgeted for it. So I appreciate you and your staff, Mark.
Well, we really couldn't do without your support and making sure we get the right equipment up front. And then that sometimes does mean spending more money on the equipment. But we, as you can tell, are going to absolutely take that thing as long as we possibly can.
Right. Anyone else? All right. Looking for a motion then. John?
Yeah. I make a motion approving the purchase of a replacement pickup truck for Public Works.
All right. Thank you. Looking for a second. Julie?
I can second it.
All right. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember LaRoche,
Aye.
Mayor Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember Banks,
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler,
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mayor, if I could just jump in quick, I didn't want to ruin this up front. We actually already sold that purple truck at auction. We sold it for a little over $3,000, if you can believe it. So that's pretty impressive because I think the list price was about $17,000 when we bought it 22 years ago.
Nice. Nice job. All right. Thank you, Mark. Have a great night. I think that is the last item on the agenda. It sure is. A couple announcements, however. We do have a council meeting coming up Tuesday, December 15th, and that's at 7 p.m. here at the Crystal Chambers at City Hall. And then there's a work session that's also open to the public, and that meeting is December 10th. I'm spitballing here. It's not written.
Yep,
Is
you're
that right?
correct. It is
Okay.
the 10th. Most of it will be closed because it's a city manager evaluation.
Right. And then, thank you for that. Just a reminder to everyone that all these meetings are available online, both work sessions and council meetings for your listening or viewing pleasure at our website, www.crystalmn.gov. And are there any other announcements that anyone's aware of? Nancy?
A couple. The first one is the Crystal Sparkles Holiday Lighting Contest. That deadline's coming up on Thursday, December 10th. Is there anything I'm missing? I know you can nominate at crystalmn.gov. Is there any other place to do it, or is that the one, Ann?
I believe that is it.
That's it. Okay. And then if Deputy Chief Hubbard is still here, there are a couple of police-driven activities, such as Toys for Tots. And was there a coat drive also coming up?
Yeah, Councilmember LaRoche, the coat drive is going on, ends Friday. So gently used or new coats can be dropped off at the police department. And our explorers and reserves are again collecting Toys for Tots, and that bin has been filled a couple times. So I'm excited that our community is coming out to help some folks at a time of need. And I will actually, because I have the floor, we have, as many of you will recall, we have done a Shop with a Cop event for the last number of years to help kids in the community who maybe are not going to have quite as merry of a Christmas season. We are planning to do that again this year. We are going to do it a little bit of a different format because that's what we do nowadays, right, in pandemic. But we are planning to do it, and our plan, without a whole lot of details, is that we actually are planning to have officers deliver gifts to individual homes for kids on the day that we're doing it. I say that because we are always looking, we reach out to the schools, we reach out to the community. We don't do a huge public blast, but if any of you are aware of a family that's struggling and has some kids that may benefit from a little extra holiday cheer, if you would reach out to myself or Sergeant Tourville and give us some information, we certainly will reach out to the family because we'd love to connect with them. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brian. All right. Anything else? Looking for a motion. Brendan.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right. Looking for a second. Go ahead, John.
Second that motion.
All right. Let's do a roll call.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Banks.
Aye.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your study of these packets. It's good to see you guys again. It's been a while. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on the 10th.